Hi, wherever you may be, welcome. That, of course, is an homage to the late, great Bill Schonely, the Portland Trailblazers longtime announcer, coined the phrase Rip City. And, we just, I'm in the Pacific Northwest, so I like to give a little love. And I actually got a chance to work with him when I was in my radio days. So I like to give him a little bit of love. And I like to give all of you a lot of love. Those of you who support Indie Agency News, I cannot thank you enough. Wow, we're a month and a half into this thing. And there's long stories to tell about why I'm doing this. There's long stories about the background and all of this, but it comes down to this. Our brief is very simple: to build the global home for independent agencies. And our mission is to serve independent agencies and the brilliant people behind them. And we are bringing a couple of them onto the stage today. Spencer and Graham, Gus, which is one letter removed from Gut, which just won 2 Adweek Agency of the Year awards. Congratulations to them. So go ahead and give your colleagues a little congratulations, Spencer and Graham.
Congrats,
Gut. Yeah, and they did the they did the artwork for the cover, which was really fun. So yeah, and Gut has been. I met Anselmo back when he started this years ago, and I kind of knew this is where things were going to track. And what I love is talking to agencies like Gus, who are of similar ilk, where they're doing their thing and they're doing it really well, and they just keep tracking up. So I'm super excited because this brand, and I don't think I covered Back Market before, but I think my colleague, David Greiner, let's just call him like one of my favorite people ever. I don't know if he covered it. I'm going to have to go back and look, but I do remember this. I do remember this work from previous agency partners that that Back Market had, and they are a French company. So Spencer and Graham, we're going to show the first work here in a second, but give us a little bit of the background of how the relationship built with Back Market and a little bit more about the company.
Yeah, you got it, Doug. And first off, man, thank you so much for having us on. We're super excited to be here. Love your mission and are happy to sort of be sharing the story behind this work with you. I guess with Back Market, we could start where they're a really incredible purpose-driven company with sort of sustainability at their heart. One of the global leaders in selling refurbished technological devices. And like you mentioned, it's a company based out of France and actually have a really huge sort of presence in Europe. But when it comes to kind of awareness, especially in America, it's just really kind of not there just yet. And I think we were lucky enough to sort of get in touch with Back Market several months ago as they were sort of endeavoring to take on kind of one of their first ever kind of global campaigns with a really big focus about just starting to get people in America specifically sort of aware and excited about the idea of purchasing kind of refurbished devices.
Right. And yeah, what's interesting, so did a little bit of digging around, and so as I was getting prepared, doing a little bit more research, clearly I didn't look at the Back Market work that we did at Adweek. Bad researcher. What I did stumble upon a YouTube review and somebody unboxing, and they were wildly impressed, because I think that there's some level of skepticism about refurbished, but their process and the way that they approach it is, I mean, it's impressive, and they've been around long enough to hone that. I mean, how does that help as you're coming up with launching more of a global campaign? Because and I talk about this with my students at Portland State University. You can do the best advertising in the world, but if the product is garbage, you've absolutely lost the script. So in the process of discovery and working with them, what did you learn about how they've grown their process and the quality of their process as a brand?
Yeah, I mean, in short, they've done it. Like that was, I think that the biggest missing piece in the refurbished world is building that trust, like changing that behavior. And we looked at a bunch of other categories to try to find an analog, and they're everywhere. You know, it wasn't that long ago that no one would ever even dream of buying a used car, and now they're far more in demand than new cars. You know, like there are these sort of things to point at where industries have figured out how to certify, how to like put a process in place to ensure that something that's not brand new is just as good, if not better, once you start measuring it against how sustainable it is, how affordable it is, like the sort of unmatched quality. So they made our jobs a lot easier for sure. Then it just came down to, okay, great. How do we actually change behavior and change perception around the true sort of like quality and innovation that comes with buying something refurbished?
There's a stigma that exists there, right? That for us, it's always fun to kind of push up against it, you know, because especially when we look at the way people think about refurbished devices, they think they may be kind of old and no good and not reliable. When in actuality, they've gotten to the place where like these are incredibly reliable, amazing devices that are essentially future-proofed and kind of built to be a company built to be more sustainable than buying new. So we were totally bought in on the proposition, and then it was just a matter of kind of taking the audience right along for the journey.
Yeah, absolutely. Remind me your roles, because that wasn't professional broadcasting. I did not ask what your roles are at the agency.
Totally. Well, we're both co-founders and sort of co-creative directors here at Gus.
I knew you were co-founders, but I didn't want to be presumptuous, and because we've had co-founders that have been chief operating officers.
Yeah, we do that sometimes too.
we're at Gus HQ.
Right. Filler of the fridge. Actually, you're in New York and you're in the Lower East Side and you got a great space. Turn the camera real quick. So you got like a storefront there.
Yeah, we were at a storefront and a former tattoo parlor. So allow a little view of the Lower East Side to wash over you. Very good people watching here at the Gus office as you're trying to get something to go.
Not always the most productive environment in the world, but it's fun.
Good people watching in the Lower East Side. Imagine where you are in the 70s or 80s. You talk to the old timers in New York. It was so much better in the 70s.
Doug, you'd be surprised. So actually the building we're in is a co-op that is owned by a majority of people who were living here during those years. And they sort of are part of the DNA of the neighborhood, which in some ways is why we love this space so much, is because it's filled with incredible characters who have kind of lived through it, and they're essentially our landlords. So it's a very good relationship with them.
Do you have a Marge that comes around waxing poetic and sentimental about the 70s and the 80s?
Yeah,
in a way. Yeah.
In a way. Okay. That's we will stop that there. Let's take a look. So there's a couple of pieces of work that we're going to look at. The first one is entitled The New One. And we'll talk a little bit about the creative and also the strategy, when this launched, et cetera, et cetera. But let's take a look at it real quick.
The new one is here. Now in all new colors, like gray and other gray, with less of these and more of these, all for a breathtaking new price. The new one will make you move. It'll give you new friends that hang out like this. Not these friends. New friends. Even this fresh new artist uses the new one. The new one is a vibe. And you have to buy it because there's no other option. Or we choose refurbished. Because high quality, more affordable, more sustainable devices aren't yet to come. They're already here. Let them buy new. We'll buy back market.
It's a good payoff.
Thank you.
Yeah. Because that's tough to do, right? So sometimes when you're looking at creative, one of the things that I tend to nerd out on is pacing, right? And so you very easily could have gone a little farther with it, and you were getting to the point where, as like me as a consumer, so like as a an ad nerd and a consumer at the same time, like I'm sticking with it, I'm sticking with it, I'm sticking with it. Am I still sticking with it? Oh, there's the payoff. So I thought the pacing and the timing of it was really, really well done. But I think overall the construct, I mean, it was really, really great. So let's talk about just overall the idea and conceptually where you went with it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, well, for starters, we mentioned this earlier, but at its core, we really did need to like define a category here, you know, completely change consumer behavior. Like the big tech companies have spent the better part of a couple of decades and billions of dollars convincing us that new is better. Flat out, new is innovative, no matter if it's just a new, slightly different shade of gray or a new update that nobody ever asked for. It's the innovative new thing. And
Right.
and you'd be crazy to not buy the new thing.
Yeah. It's funny, for years there was this sort of promise of tech as this kind of great savior. And I think especially in recent years, there's just been a public distrust about where are we going with all of this? You know, do we really need these updates and innovations? And I think for us, it really felt like the time was right to like capitalize on that sort of cultural headwind, if you will, and try to kind of make a bold statement about what the nature of modern day innovation in the technology space really is. You know, is it these minimal, unnecessary updates that is truly what is groundbreaking and innovative? Or is it taking a step back and actually realizing that there could be a much better, more future-proof, more sustainable way to be purchasing your technology, and kind of almost better in every way, better for your wallet, better for the environment. And so I think we got really excited about trying to puncture this bubble and sort of pull the wool off of this ruse that's been going on for quite a while, almost using the language, the visual language, and like the sort of kind of tone that has been the method of convincing you that this is what you need for years and years.
Yeah. And I want to go back to the brief. What stood out to you in the brief, and how did it evolve? How did it change in your mind?
I mean, from the start, the brief really was like convince people that new is not the only option. You know, like
That's a simple construct to work with, but man, I have to imagine that early in the process, it's like, okay, what do we do with that?
interestingly enough, like we were bought in from the second that we actually.
No, I get that. But my point is that there are a million ways you could have gone. How did you determine the discipline in that? Because you're talking about a very, very wide category. You're talking about an extraordinarily competitive category, and it can be very easy to be a kid in a creative candy store, but no, you only get the peppermints.
Yeah, it's a great question. You know, I think for this one in particular, like I think a way we love to work at Gus is, you know, we call ourselves a creative strategy company, right? And I think for us, landing on that big singular idea that, you know, can become a bedrock or a platform that just other ideas fall out of is where we really try to sort of hang our hat and make it such an emphasis. So I think right away when we got a brief this exciting and this juicy, we set into trying to sort of establish like what could be a big platform level idea that a lot of fun thinking and work can fall out of. So right away we set to work like working with the back market team to like, we presented like a number of different strategic territories, you know, ways in, but contextualize those with like the types of creative fodder and creative output that would fall out of any of them. And I think when we got to this sort of territory around let them buy new, around sort of trying to expose the sort of hypocrisy of the industry using the tricks and tools they've been using for years and years, I think the juice was there. You know, when you saw the ideas that were falling out of it. And so I think just in the way we like to work, where we try to have that big idea, but then add that creative context sort of right away, it felt like it made it really easy for us all as a team to sort of buy in and be like, there is the magic here. There is the sort of evergreen feeling here that made it really easy for us to sort of run at it hard.
Yeah. No, I get that. Let's talk about the strategy though, because this was launched, it was on iPhone Day, right?
Yeah. I mean, we, as Spencer mentioned, we knew from the very beginning that if we wanted to disrupt the category, that it wouldn't be enough to like just kick the tires. dance tiptoe around it. Like, we sort of needed to pick a fight with the biggest bully on the playground. And that is Apple.
Yeah.
For the longest time, Apple has been the kind of like bellwether for what is innovative and what is new. And you've seen the rest of their industry chase them in that pursuit too. So I don't know. I think from the very beginning days of this brief, we kind of knew we've got to poke the bear somehow if we want to have some real impact.
Yeah, and a huge shout out to the team at Back Market, who from the jump were extremely bold and brave in their appetite to like run at that tension, and I think when you have a partner like Back Market that was ready to sort of walk right up to that line and look over the kind of precipice and see what happens when you can be that spiky and that punchy, exciting work is going to come from it. So I think all of us held hands from the jump to know that we wanted to run right at Apple Keynote Day and create a moment and use that as that cultural capital and that tension as a sort of springboard. Felt like it made the big ideas come that much easier.
What was the initial impact? What feedback? And it's early. I mean, I get it. Like, it's still super early, but anecdotally or otherwise, what sort of vibe did you get back launching it on that?
Super positive. And like, to your point, it's still early, and the brand campaign aspect of this has just now been in market for a week or two. So a little too early to tell on that front. But, at least what we saw anecdotally, it was crazy positive. Like, well, we can get into the work here in a minute, but especially for the R phone portion of this, we sort of pulled all the pages out of the Apple playbook to roll out a new phone at the same time that they were rolling out a new phone. And the buzz on message boards, on within tech micro influencers, like the world that cares about this stuff, being a sustainable phone and getting excited about it was almost the best feedback we got, aside from impressions and headlines. Like, we got a really clear indication that the industry wants this. And of course, on keynote day, Apple launched something that was attempting to be the thing that everyone was
fine.
That of course, it wasn't.
It was fine.
And even anecdotally, the sort of Google results that we saw after the campaign went live for just refurbished technology in general, there was a massive spike. So in terms of category creation and sort of having Back Market own the idea of refurbished, it feels like there's energy there and
it's a good place to start.
Yeah.
We also heard from through the grapevine that Apple was pissed, which was proof of concept.
Poke the cocaine bear. No, that's because I made a cocaine bear reference earlier today on something else. And it was stop acting like cocaine bear, blah, blah, blah. So, yeah. I don't know if that was appropriate, but well.
It's live, baby.
We're live.
Can't take it back.
Listen, all I know is everybody laughed because we all knew it was a huge joke. So, yeah. Thank you, Elizabeth Banks. Let's take a look at the R phone.
So this is actually a metal lockbox.
Il y a une boîte qui a l'air d'être...
Lockbox will open September 12th.
S'ouvrir d'ici 5 jours.
Yeah, go for it. I'm guessing it deals with the iPhone launch?
This is a professionally refurbished iPhone from Back Market. Requires 91.3% less raw materials, 89% less e-waste, and 91.6% less carbon footprint. Wow,
Cet iPhone reconditionné est quand même magnifique.
What? Here's the question. Question one. When you get your Cannes Lion, let's figure out the category here. Let's figure out which categories plural. So it's interesting though, like, thinking about it for Cannes Lion, for the Cannes Lions, for one show, for D&AD, name an award show. You've got the purpose-led categories, right? And you got all the
You're too kind. Doug. You're too kind. Man.
Thanks, man.
I mean, it's just get that sucker in Cannes Lions. Get that sucker in D&AD. Get that in the one show. Clio. Get it to Clio. And this is coming from, years and years of looking at this stuff and sometimes being a little bit jaded about it. And yeah, I could look at that as somebody who is on this side of the fence and say, oh, but everything was done. It's one thing to be clever, right? It's quite another to be super tight with it, to be really clean with it. And again, this goes back to discipline. If we go back to the top, you've got this somewhat broad brief, and then you're forced into the discipline of this. I have to imagine that as you were going through this process, that there was a lot of, yeah, that's good, but we need to do it this way. So constantly improving and iterating that. Is that how I'm reading that?
100%.
Totally. I mean, it's also, at least in my opinion, or our opinion, like the power of doing that creative strategy motion first is you're able to have a really big tent, but not a demand for like matching luggage that you would get with a campaign. Like even the two things we've looked at so far, they don't look the same. There's strategic connective tissue between them for sure,
right,
but they're designed to do different things based off of the same bigger idea. So we sort of didn't find ourselves in that place that you would at a lot of ad agencies where it's about this actor or this color or this script is the idea. There was a sort of bigger halo around the thing that gave us that flexibility to show up differently in different places.
Yeah. But and to your point, Doug, I think when the time came to really start rolling up our sleeves and crafting the exact sort of cadence that Project R became, I think we knew the integrity of the idea, right? And sort of, to your point, the discipline it would take in order to sort of have it live up to what it could be. And I think we certainly didn't take that responsibility lightly, so I think to your point, like really sort of thinking through each touch point, what it needs in order to sort of be as impactful as possible. It took a lot of, really trying to be disciplined in the outcome.
Yeah. And I would say that the first spot that we ran, the new one, that's definitely more of a broader consumer play, right? So an influencer is not necessarily going to be, moved by that. But the way that the second part, the R, was positioned, and as you can see, especially with this out of home and the way that it's positioned, so you have all just more mainstream over here. You've got, and niche is not the right word, but you've got influencer over here. Now you have something like this outdoor that I'm pointing at. There's my finger. And that's bridging the gap, right? So to your point, there is this level of connective tissue, but you're getting the best of all worlds. Number one, that you have this more broadly based, and I'm just using that term as a term of convenience, broadly based, fun, like advertising. And then you have the tighter, like, now we're getting at it on this end. And then you have the in between. So where's that?
That's a Moynihan Station, the new Penn Station that they built a few years back.
Right. Oh my gosh, that looks good. And you had this all over the world too.
Yeah, and it was timed to be there. It was a teaser, very much like something you'd see from Apple for a couple of weeks, and that's what we're looking at here. But the shot that you showed us just prior, where there was this sort of reveal moment, That
Right.
was timed on digital out-of-home boards all around the country to go live at exactly the moment they announced the iPhone 50.
Yeah, so the reveal happened exactly as the keynote sort of took place. So
Right.
a lot of production architecture to make sure all of the pieces were kind of seamlessly aligned to these like really key contextually relevant moments.
I mean, smart.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, so the big question in any of this is, where does it go from here?
It's a great question. I mean, luckily for us, there are so many kind of like cultural touch points that are already expectations in this world. Like we're starting to plan something potentially very cool for Black Friday. Keep an eye out for that. That's kind of
Okay.
a big like
All right.
tech moment.
Okay.
You know, gifting season around holiday. Like there's so many of these moments that like luckily our friends at Apple and Google and Samsung have like cemented in our brains as moments.
Our friends. You're not Lower East Side with that comment. Our friends.
No, it's joking aside. I hate to beat a dead horse here, but like we really do feel like a lot of conviction around the larger platform and its ability to flex into a bunch of different things. You know, there even just the number of ideas that are on the cutting room floor here. Like there's a year worth of stuff already planned if we wanted to. We just need the time and resources to do it.
There's a lot of fodder to push off against in this category, you know, and to the point we made earlier, Back Market sort of, they have built an incredible business. And I think we're excited to just, especially here in America, continue to help just mainstream this proposition. And for us, planting that seed into people's minds that like there is truly another way, that the knee-jerk reaction to buy new, there is a choice exists. There's another way, and actually a better way across the board is, you know, just when you believe in it and you know it to be true, it's just so easy to kind of keep finding new exciting ways to continue to plant that seed.
Yeah, and there's a first in kind of mentality too, because if you're establishing this brand, right? You said there's refurbishers all over the place. One could argue that Back Market, especially in Europe, already has a cemented position, first mover, first in the top of the mind share, and then sneaking that here into the United States and North America, moving that peanut forward. You definitely could muscle into that first mover territory, because there's not really because it is opaque. It does feel gray. This feels very black and white and very clear. And the great news is, again, going back to this idea of they have a strong product and they have people that believe in it. And the influencer piece, and I bang on influence marketing all the time, because it is what it is, right? But the way that you've approached it, influencer marketing is like another tool, right? But if it's a multi-use tool and you don't know how to use it, then it loses its impact. But what you've done here is done exactly the right things, and again, disciplined way, but in a way that breathes, that really makes an impact. So listen, across the board, kudos to you guys. I think it's super smart, super sharp, and I'm really excited to see where you take it next. And yeah, we'll stay in touch. We'll stay in touch, like your long lost friend from Portland. But no, again, in all seriousness, congratulations. I think this is great work, and being able to go into the background of it, I think, is really important, because it helps explain the rationale of what your client is doing, but it also helps give other brands and marketers a glimpse into the way that you approach your process. So our hope is that marketers see this and give you a little ringy dingy at the tattoo parlor.
Yeah,
We
exactly.
appreciate it, Doug.
Yeah,
Still available upon
Yeah,
special
yeah, yeah.
request.
tattoos upon request, and you might get a story about the 70s or 80s of the go-go days of the Lower East Side.
We'll have large come through.
Yeah, exactly. I'll have you both hold before we wrap up, but thanks for joining us. And I want to thank all of you again for your support of Indie Agency News. Go to indieagency.news and get stuff. Get things like Meet an Indie Agency. We had Atlantic, New York this week. We did another Indie Work live earlier this week as well. And we're going to be getting that posted here fairly soon. There's only 2 of us. So, we're not instant. We're not instant lunch. We're doing our best to serve this community, and your support means everything to us. On behalf of all 2 of us at Indie Agency News, thanks for joining us, and we will see you next time.